on to the All Games New and Old Gaming Federation, where we're all about head-to-head battle games. I'm Vic McCann, and we have an amazing night full of action for you. Tonight, David and Hillary are going to be reviewing Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 2. But before we get to that, let's go backstage, where Vicious Trish is standing by with the Meeple Man, Sandy Ravage.
Alright, thanks, McCann. Do I have to do this?
Just do it.
I'm here with Meeple Man, Meeple Man, Meeple Man.
Oh yeah! You summoned me, Trisha. Very nicely done. I'm impressed. Dig it, yeah.
So, Meeple Man, what can you tell us about the new Unmatched Volume 2 game?
Oh yeah, Unmatched. It's a very good game. You pick one of 4 warriors, yeah. You could pick Yaninga. She's pretty cool. You could pick Achilles, Sun Wukong, or Bloody Mary. Yeah, I like all of them. I respect all those warriors. Yes, I do. You know who I don't respect? Restoration Games. Yeah, they put out this game and I got a problem with them, Trisha. Let me tell you something. I don't mind that they didn't put the Meeple Man in the Buffy set, because I am buff, but I'm not Buffy. I don't mind that the Meeple Man is not in the Marvel set, because I am marvelous, but I'm not from Marvel. But we're on two Battle of Legends set. The Meeple Man's not in any of them, and that's a big problem, Trisha, because I'm not just a legend, I'm a champion, yeah. So let me tell you something, Restoration Games. Listen real close to what the Meeple Man's gotta say. In Battle of Legends Volume... No! Look into my eyes in Battle of Legends Volume 3. One character, the Meeple Man. Dig it! Oh yeah!
Anyways, off to you and David and Hillary.
Alright, well that was certainly something that you just saw. Restoration Games, please don't worry about the Meeple Man. I think all my guests are from some kind of weird parallel dimension and can't actually get to us except for the one that haunts us, but that's not your problem, so don't worry about it. Yeah, it's an issue. Anyway, so this particular version of this game, or this set from this game, came out in 2022 from Restoration Games, and it was designed by, and I'm going to read it off the back because there's several names and I will absolutely mess those up if I try to do them off my top of my head, I promise you. So, bear with me. It is Noah Cohen, Rob Davio, Justin D. Jacobson, Chris Leader, Brian Neff, and Kevin Rogers. So, a lot of designers. I think a couple of them were from the original version of this game that was a Star Wars game of a name that I do not recall. But that is why Restoration Games came in and swooped up and decided to do a different version using literary characters and legendary characters and pop culture characters. All kinds of characters. So they're all over the place, which is pretty
If you have
awesome.
a fandom, they've probably covered it or will cover it.
Yeah, they'll get there. The game, I think, is pretty popular, so I don't think they're going to slow down anytime soon. So the rules for this game are pretty simple. Once you've picked your character, you just grab the model for it, the deck of cards. If they have any little sidekick tokens, you'll grab those too and put those on the board as per the instructions in the manual, and then you go on to you'll usually have 2 actions per turn.
Mm-hmm. And one of those actions is maneuver, and when you maneuver, you draw a card, and then you have the option of moving, and each character has a specific number of spaces that they can move. It's normally 2 or 3, with a lot of the characters only being 2. There might be a card that you can play that can give you some extra movement, but in general, you move 1 or 2 or 3 spaces.
You can also boost that maneuver action if you use one of the cards from your hand. There's a special little number on each one that is a boost number, so you could play that down basically to discard it, and then boost your movement by that many spaces if you want to. You can also play a scheme card. Those cards have a little lightning bolt symbol on them, and basically that is a one-time immediate effect. So you play that down, it does whatever it says it does, assuming that it can do that thing based on the game state, and then you're done. Whatever happens, happens. So.
And the last option is to attack. And so you would play a attack card face down, and your opponent has the opportunity to play a defensive card face down. And then you would both flip over the cards at the same time, and it mainly goes off the initial part of who wins that fight is based off of the upper left-hand corner numbers, and then the cards will sometimes have some things that can change that, or might have an immediate effect, or during combat, or even after combat. Each card has a little bit of something, but normally it'll have one of those three options. Sometimes they'll have two. I haven't seen a card that has all three. And occasionally those cards will also have an opportunity for you or the opponent to boost, same as can boost that number, similar to the maneuver boost.
Yeah, absolutely. So the game will just continue until one character or the other is completely depleted of life. And then they're obviously gone and it's over. So that is how the game ends. You can play this with up to 4 players. You can play a 2-on-2 or a battle royale kind of situation. We only really play the 1-on-1 combats. I think that's a sweet spot for this game. You can certainly try the other ones, but I think more often than not, people are going to be playing this as a 1-on-1 game.
Yeah, the one part that's a little different with this game is when you're drawing your cards, you don't reshuffle your deck. So you want to be a little careful about just going through your cards super fast. If you get through your whole deck and you want to maneuver so that you're able to move, with a maneuver you do have to draw a card. So if you can't draw a card, you take 2 damage instead. So you want to be careful about going through your deck too fast.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move on their part that they did it that way, because they don't want someone to just draw the game out to eternity by constantly running away and, but they can't win anymore. So that's the basic gameplay overview. Now we'll move on to art.
So I really enjoy the artwork in these games. I think they did a really good job of being really diverse in both characters and ethnicity. Even the artwork all has a similar feel to it, but they alter it a little bit depending on the character and the backstory. So I think they did a really good job of merging all the artwork on it. And the board is also really nicely done. The spaces are really easy to see, but it still looks really pretty.
Yeah, I absolutely love this art. I would love if they made posters of some of this. Like, if you could, send them in, I would like a poster of this card, and they would send that to you. That would be amazing, because there's a lot of cool imagery in basically all the sets that I've looked at. And I have not looked at all of them, but art is one of the things that this series is really known for, and I can absolutely see why. Every bit of it's awesome and really does a good job at portraying the specific character. Bloody Mary's cards are super, super spooky, for sure, all done in, black and white and gray with just splashes of red. I'm sure it's ketchup here and there. Really cool. Whereas, Achilles, they've got a lot of the, ancient Greek, statue-looking stuff, or just, battle scenes, that sort of thing. Each one of them just has their really own unique look, despite it being, I think, the same artist. So, really fantastic.
They also did a good job of not over-sexualizing the women character, which can happen pretty easily in the gaming world. So. Yeah,
that's not uncommon. So yeah, it's, I have not looked at every single set super closely, but I don't think any of them are over-sexualized at all. They really had to focus on, these people are here to fight, and we're going to make them look as tough and awesome as we possibly can. And I think they did a great job of it. So there's several different things to talk about here with components, but I want to start with the box, because they made such a great storage system for this game. I absolutely love it. Each character has their own spot for their deck. Their health wheel goes right underneath their deck. There's a spot for however many sidekick tokens they might have. It's brilliantly done. Even though this game is one where they encourage you to mix and match sets and fight this one versus that one, I'm not likely to take all these things and compile them into one big box, because I like their storage system so well that I just kind of want to keep it at that and deal with having multiple boxes.
Yeah. And with this game being one that has models in it, I would be cautious about trying to combine sets into a box as well.
Yeah, me too. The health wheels themselves are, it's really good sturdy cardboard. You've probably seen things like this before. You take 2 circle pieces, stick them together with this plastic pin in the middle. But they did a good job. I haven't come across one that is too loose or too tight, which can sometimes be an issue with those. There may be a set out there that's like that, but so far I haven't come across any, which is great. The boards are nice and sturdy. the models are fantastic. They're really, really good. I don't know if it is the absolute hardest plastic out there, but it's definitely stiffer than a lot of board games use. The detail is a lot higher than a lot of board games have, and they've even put a black wash over the models so that the shadows are much darker, the higher points stand out more, which makes them look really great on the board. As much as I like to pretend that I will paint all the models of my board games, I know it's not likely, to be honest, and even though I would love to paint these, like, they still look great even as they are.
Yeah. I think the components are really good with these games. The models are really good. They're really detailed. They look really pretty on the board. The cards are a good card stock. You know, they're easy to shuffle. You know, you're not reshuffling your deck, but you do have to shuffle it initially. So it's really easy to do that. I like the psychic little tokens are made out of plastic, so they're going to last a long time. And they're color coded too, so even if the sticker that's on top of it starts to wear off, you can still tell whose psychic belongs to who. The board I really appreciate because they are double-sided. On Volume 1 of Legends, it's actually a different map on each side. On Volume 2, it's the same map, but it's looks slightly different. The main spots that you stand on one side are solid colors, and on the other side, it's more of the image of the map, and then just the border of it is the color, so you can figure out which region is which. So depending on if you want the spots to be a lot easier to distinguish from each other or not, you can kind of pick which side you want. The other thing that's a little different with the Volume 2 versus Volume 1 with the board is that this board has higher ground, and so if you are on a spot that's elevated and than your opponent, then you get a bonus to your attacks. And it's really easy, nicely labeled on the board. It's just a matter of paying attention to remember whether or not you have higher ground or not.
Yeah, that's my problem. I always forget to check for that. I get so focused on what my card's going to do that I feel like, oh, I might actually be on top of the stairs. I could actually smack this person down harder. I don't know. So, but it's really cool. I mean, that is just a me thing. It is perfectly easily labeled, easy to see on there. So they did a great job as far as that goes, with incorporating just a slight little twist to the rules to make it ever so barely more complicated, but add a neat little layer of strategy to it.
For the theme, I think they did a good job of really incorporating the legend or the backstory of the characters in with their decks and making what actions they're able to do and why they're doing those actions really coincide with each other really well and mesh really well. Really the only theme that I don't really get is like why they're battling, but as far as the actual individual characters and the theme, they did a fantastic job of incorporating those together.
Yeah, agreed. As far as I know, there's not some overarching narrative of how these people were brought together to battle. They didn't try to like pull something wonky like a video game, like fighting game would. It's just kind of like, here's some characters, make them fight. But they do, like you were saying, do a good job of really building those characters' personalities, right? But methods into how they play. And I think that's really fantastic. They do all feel different, even when, even if you get two characters who have maybe just a slight difference from each other, it's enough that they do feel very characterful, and you know, they do have a certain feel to each one that's going to be unique to them. Okay, so for final thoughts, there's a lot of good things to say about this game. I like how fast it plays. It's nice to have some games that, according to this, is 20 to 40 minutes, and I think that's really about right. You know, and she's being merciful to me. It might last all 40 minutes, but if she's coming at me hard, I will only survive 20 minutes. That sounds maybe less. Oh, we had a doozy the other day. Anyway, but seriously though, it's a pretty quick game. I don't even think you could stretch it out to be super long unless you really sat there thinking about your next move.
Well, and because of like the way that you don't reshuffle your deck, it really does limit the number of turns you can really do with this game. So. Yeah,
for sure. It's also really super easy to set up, which is fantastic. You just take out the board, grab the parts of your character, and that's it. Like, it takes probably not 5 minutes to set this up.
10 different decks to set up and shuffle.
Yeah, it's, some games it's like, okay, let me put out my 800 different tokens. And that is not the case with this one. It's so dang fast, which is great because it fits a perfect niche of when you don't have a ton of time and you just want to get a quick little game in. It's wonderful for that. And because each character does feel different, you know, you can feel like you get something a little different every time. And granted, if you keep playing the same character, they are probably going to start to feel sort of... You're going to get used to how one character plays, and you might feel like there's not much more to discover because there isn't a method in the game to put new cards into your deck. It's really just, you have this deck for this character, you have the Sun Wukong deck, it's always going to be that deck. You're going to shuffle that. So maybe you'll get a little different cards this time than the other time, but if you play it more and more, it's, you know, it's going to feel like the same character, which is not necessarily a bad thing. As far as any negatives, like my concern with this game is that if you don't use it as that kind of quick fill-in here and there, if you decide like, oh man, I just want to play this like all day with my friends and, you know, or spouse or whatever, and you just play it, I think eventually, because the system itself is not super complicated or very complicated at all, I think eventually the system would grow, you'd grow tired of it at a certain point. Even different characters, you know, like I said, at some point, I think you'll start associating, oh, this character's kind of like this one. And even though there's differences, at some point, I still think you're going to hit this wall where it's like, I don't want to play a character that's in this range, and I don't want to play one that's in this range. And
because the main mechanic is the same, you know, at some point, it doesn't feel that much of a difference.
Yeah. So, you know, all things being said, you know, if I had all the time in the world to play a game, I might pick something else before I picked this, something with a little bit more complexity to it. But that being said, we often don't have that kind of time. As much as I would love that to be the case, you know, we almost never are going to have a full day of playing games. Like it doesn't happen. We squeeze it in where we can, which is why some of these, you know, the really long games, as much as I might love them, are just hard to get to the table. This is super easy to get to the table, and for that it's fantastic. And I like one aspect of the rules not being super complicated in that if I play it, you know, today, and then it's 6 months until I play it again, it's super quick to skim over the rules and relearn it. It's not hard. Any real differences come within your characters, but even they're not hard to understand if you understand the basic rules. Like they themselves are not super complicated. They're just different from each other. So I really like that because there's so many games that I love and like we have played, but I know if I go back to it, I'm going to have to relearn that rule set again. And it'll be easier than the first time, but it's still going to be a lot. You know, like it's been a few months since we played Praga Kaput Regni, and I was actually thinking about that today. Like, man, that'd be cool to play. Like, oh gosh, do I remember how all this works? I don't know that I do. And it's fine. She's real good. As soon as I taught it to her, like it's like the rules are filtering out of my brain, and then I don't remember when I'm playing, and she has to be like, oh no, you can only do that. I'm like, you're right. I told you that, didn't I? Huh.
He's always unintentionally cheating.
I am. It's very unintentional, and it does. Look, I never win, so who cares? Like, does it matter? No, it doesn't. She wins. It's just what she does. Anyway, off topic. It's great to have a game that is super easy to pick up and learn again. So, you know, that being said, because of how I'm likely to play it and how I recommend you play it too, don't do it over and over and over again, day after day. Play some other things, but definitely come back to this one. I'm going to give this an 8. I think it fits that niche absolutely perfectly. It's way better than it seems like it should be, to be honest with you. It's great. So I love the idea of taking, you know, this character from this thing and putting it against this other character that you will not ever see except for in weird fan fiction online. Like, will Buffy the Vampire Slayer do good against a Velociraptor? I don't know. She's not going to fight one in the show. I mean, the show's over, but I mean, I guess they could have worked.
The comics are still going.
They could have worked. They could work it in. But anyway, probably not though. You know, and I enjoy that kind of thing. It's like every little goofy schoolyard conversation I ever had. I was like, can this person fight this person? And you know, with the sets, if you mix and match them, you can figure that out. Even in one set, if you think, oh, that battle seems interesting, perfect, you can do it. But I have a feeling once you play one, you're gonna start eyeballing some others. They have. In addition to the 2 Battle of Legends set, there's Cobble and Fog that has like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Count Dracula and a few other people. There's Buffy the Vampire Slayer set. There's Jurassic Park sets. There's a Bruce Lee one. There's a Deadpool one. There's Little Red Riding Hood versus Beowulf and Robin Hood versus Bigfoot. And there's a whole bunch of Marvel ones coming down the pipeline. And I'm sure Who knows what else they're going to do? I've heard they're coming out with like a Jurassic Park that has a T-Rex in it that takes up 2 spaces each time. I don't know. Anyway, regardless, I want that T-Rex. I mean, regardless, it's just fun. It's a fun game, and it's fun to have these matches. So 8 is my score. Try it out. It's great.
So I really enjoyed this game. I really like that it's a shorter game. We do have a hard time playing longer games, and so having a game where the other night we were able to get 2 full games in under an hour, which is incredible and really good for us. And it's a fun game. Like a lot of the shorter games, it's kind of like it feels like it's more like a kiddie game and like has kiddie gloves, and I don't feel that way with this game. It's a good solid game, but it just has that shorter time frame, and not being able to reshuffle your deck I think helps out a lot with that. I think it's a really easy game to learn. I think it's a great game for like beginner hobbyist game board game players. It's an easy game to learn. It's an easy game to teach. We haven't played it with our oldest, but I think that she could play it easily.
Actually, I think I did play the first set with her.
Okay, yeah.
Because like everyone, she beat me. If I remember right. It's been a while. I think she did play it, and she was okay with it, so.
So, there might be some nuances that your kids have a little bit of trouble picking up on, but for the most part, as long as they can read the cards and understand what the cards say, they could play it. So, for all that, and I think it has a lot of good diversity. You could pretty much, if there's a theme that you like, there's probably a version out already, or there will be a version out. I can see the little bit of the burnout if you're playing it back to back, but that being said, put it on your shelf for 6 months and then come back to it, and you'll probably like it again. So
absolutely. Yep.
For me, I'm going to give it an 8 as well.
All right, that's pretty dang good. 2 8s. So that's a good recommendation from us. If you need that filler game that still has a little bit of a punch to it, definitely check it out. So if this video has been helpful for you, please hit like and subscribe and click the little bell icon so you can know about the next time we put out a video. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you all around the table again at All Games New and Old.
Bye.
Basically, let me talk about your actions that you have, because this is all terrible. I feel like I'm all over the place.
You are.
I am all over the place. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. There's really not a lot of things with it. There's really not. Goddamn. Okay. There's a Buffy the Vampire Count slats. Buffy the Vampire Count? What? Also interact with me underneath. Also interact with me Yep. Also. Let's start over. Ah!
We'll see you around the table.
Damn it. Okay, let's get this nailed.
Okay.
At least it's good blooper fodder. Thank God. Okay.
Blooper what?
Blooper fodder. Fodder. F-O-D-D-E-R. Not a blooper father. That's me. I'm the blooper father.
Blooper farter.
Blooper farter. I'm the blooper. That would be a good blooper though if I just like farted really loud. I'm Vic McCann, but for now, let's go back to it sucked. Alright. You know who I don't respect? This cough that's coming. Damn it. Oh, there's so many of them. If you like that video, you might also like this one.
Or this one.
If you don't want me to cry myself to sleep at night, click this little button to subscribe.
We'll see you around the table.
Bye.
Bye.